So one of the reasons I want to focus first on some of these tips that have really been working for me is because I want to talk about the distinction between weight loss and fat loss that occurs and weight loss and fat loss that is lasting, that lasts over time. Because there's one thing about getting to your goals. It's a whole other thing about staying there. And I know from personal experience how discouraging it can be to get to your goals and then have setbacks. And these tips and tools that I want to talk about today that have really made a huge impact for me in terms of maintaining that loss after getting to my goal, some of the things that have made a big impact. And a lot of it is about the mental game. A lot of it is not just, the style of eating ketogenic or what you put on your plate. It really is the mental game and other aspects of life that go into it. So that's why I want to talk about some of these top tips with you today.
Welcome to Fast Keto. I'm your host, Ketogenic Girl.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Fast Keto. And first things first, Happy New Year. I am so pumped. It's 2019. I hope that you had a blast ringing in the new year. I know I certainly did. I have honestly been having one of the best holidays of my entire life, and it has been amazing. I know that so much of it has been because of a lot of inner work that I've been doing, and I think that is what makes it all the much more amazing, is just knowing and seeing how well I'm feeling with my internal state, with my external state. And I want to share a few things that I've been doing lately that I feel like have really made a huge impact for me personally. In this episode, I'm also going to get to the second half of your burning questions. So it's another Q&A episode. And I'm also going to share just a few quick things that I think have really moved the needle for me in terms of just feeling awesome every day and feeling fantastic and not stressed out, even though, the holidays can be a really stressful time of the year. I've got 2 huge exams coming up on Monday and the week after, and I feel so chill. And I know that a lot of it has been coming from certain habits and things that I've been doing, and I mentioned them in a post that I did on Instagram, but I wanted to just go over them real quick here with all of you in case any of them resonate for you, and then I'm going to get back to the second half of the questions episode because I received some that I wasn't able to answer. So one of the reasons I want to focus first on some of these tips that have really been working for me is because I want to talk about the distinction between weight loss and fat loss that occurs and weight loss and fat loss that is lasting, that lasts over time. Because there's one thing about getting to your goals. It's a whole other thing about staying there. And I know from personal experience how discouraging it can be to get to your goals and then have setbacks. And these tips and tools that I want to talk about today that have really made a huge impact for me in terms of maintaining that loss after getting to my goal, some of the things that have made a big impact. And a lot of it is about the mental game. A lot of it is not just, the style of eating ketogenic or what you put on your plate. It really is the mental game and other aspects of life that go into it. So that's why I want to talk about some of these top tips with you today. I want to talk about, I think one of the major things that has made a difference for me this year has been doing yoga every day, getting up early here and doing a 30-minute, sometimes 45 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes, just a daily yoga practice and focusing on being really mindful and bringing mindfulness to it. And that has been huge for me, is just having that daily practice every day. I try to do at least 5 minutes of meditation at the end of each yoga session that I do. And I also try to do just 5 minutes of meditation in bed before getting out of bed, and trying to set the tone for the day. But there's something about that movement too, and just being a mindful observer of my practice. I know it's made a huge difference for me in what could otherwise be sometimes a stressful situation, staying with my in-laws, being here over the holidays while I have exams, and, trying to keep up with work and constant requests and demands that I get from people almost every minute of the day, which I feel so blessed that I get to be a part of so many people's health journeys, but it can be really overwhelming to be constantly, receiving requests for information, for help from people. And I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest, but I just find that in the past being here, it's been a lot more stressful for me. I was even here in September visiting for a few weeks, and I did not feel this centered, this calm, this relaxed, this happy, this joyful. And I know that some of these changes that I've made recently have really made a huge, huge impact. And the holidays can be a really, really stressful time for all of us, for most of us, even though it's also the happiest time of the year, the most joyful time of the year. It's so rewarding. It's so much fun to be with our friends and loved ones and taking time off from work to refresh ourselves, to restore ourselves, but a lot of it can be really stressful. I get really stressed out, especially about having to buy gifts for people, trying to guess what all your friends and loved ones want without knowing, without asking them, and finding them the most thoughtful, appropriate gift just to show them that you love them is a lot of pressure. And I have been sort of going to just a lot of homemade gifts in the last few years, and I find that it's easier for me to give something that's really meaningful and shows my love, even if it's not a splashy or flashy gift. It's just something meaningful. It's something that I took time to make, and it sounds, kind of corny, but it's true. And the gifts that I love receiving the most are handwritten cards or notes or homemade gifts. And I was posting about this gift my cousin made for me, which was sugar-free keto sticks with these dark chocolate, 100% dark chocolate and coconut oil on one side, and cashew butter and collagen and coconut butter on the other side. And they were so delicious, but it meant so much to me that she took the time to think about me and what I care about and what matters to me. And she knows that I don't eat sweeteners. I only do 100% dark chocolate. And homemade gifts are so, so special. They make people feel so good. And that's one of the big things that has really helped reduce my stress over the last few years, is not trying to impress people or friends with showy gifts and flashy things, but more just meaningful things that I make. And I'm giving you my time, my energy, my thoughtfulness as a gift, as opposed to just buying something. And it's really made things less stressful for me. And I just, it's so nice to get gifts like that. It really, really is. So going to bed extra early while we're here has been huge. I find it's easier to do because we're outside the city here, and time seems to kind of slow down, and we kind of revert to farmers' hours, getting up around, 4 or 5 a.m. in the first few days because we have jet lag, and then you start getting sleepy around 8, 9 p.m. And I love it. I love getting up early. I'm such an early bird. When I do get up early, I feel like I get twice the day. I feel so fantastic about my productivity, my clarity, my energy. And I had fallen out of that routine in the last several months. So getting back to it feels fantastic. And I love being back in that mode. And I'm definitely going to keep it up. I feel so good. And I remember how good I feel getting up early, seeing the sunrise, if I do get to see it, and how good it feels to just go to bed early and not, spend hours watching Netflix. Like, we love doing that together, but we can also do it earlier, watch an hour, say, after I'm done studying or he's done working, as opposed to just staying up late for the sake of staying up late and, I don't know, feeling cool because I'm going to bed at 1 or 2 a.m. I don't know why I do that to myself. There's something about going to bed at 8:30 or 9 o'clock that doesn't sound as cool, doesn't feel as cool, but I would really rather have a fantastic, great day than feel cool. I'm making going to bed early look cool, because going to bed at 8:30, going to bed at 9 is so rewarding. You get so much more done in your day. It is fantastic. And it gives me the time to be able to do that meditation, to do that yoga and visualization in the morning, and giving myself that gift of that extra time. I know that whenever I feel my best in life and whenever I feel my best in my body, it's always when I'm doing regular yoga and when I'm getting up early. And sometimes I fall out of that mode, but to get back into it and remember how good this feels. I'm not a big person on New Year's resolutions and those kinds of things, but if I were to make a New Year's resolution, it would be to keep this up, especially the early rising, because it makes me so productive. As I've said about 5 times now, it makes me feel really good. And it's a huge happiness booster for me just to feel like I'm doing something so healthy first thing in the day. So one other tip that I found really, really helpful that made kind of a big difference for me this year, I've been talking a lot about prioritizing protein and healthy fats and saving my carbs more for low starch carbs around the holidays. I really stayed kind of on my higher protein plan this whole holiday. On Christmas Day and New Year's Day, I kind of had some more, like a little bit of a different approach, but I felt really good just sticking to what I've been doing, prioritizing protein. It's been reducing my cravings to 0. I have never felt better in my body. I've never felt healthier. I designed my new phase 2 plans with a higher protein, and I love following them every day myself. I just absolutely feel incredible. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I feel amazing. And it's just a combination of all these things together. I can't just isolate it to one thing. It's being more mindful with that meditation, that early rising, which helps me make better choices throughout the day, and making those healthy habits of prioritizing protein, eating more protein, not fearing protein, eating protein because it's functional biological material that we need every day. And, I've just been doing so great with this combination. I'm so thrilled with my new phase 2 meal plans. I've been working so hard on getting the printing done for them. I know a lot of you have been waiting, and I apologize for how long it's been taking, but the book is so big. It has, I think, over 300 pages, over 100 new recipes, and it's massive. And so in order to get really high quality printing for myself, because I'm not a big publisher, I don't have these big, publishing contract that publishers get these huge discounts because they're doing so much volume like my publisher does with my cookbook, and I absolutely love them and the quality of the books that they put out for all of us authors. But the meal plans that I produce, I have them spiral bound and printed just for ease of use in the kitchen. And some people like just to have them digitally. Some people like to have them printed and spiral bound. But I finally got the samples of them, and they did not look good. The paper quality was not good. It was probably fine or passable, but it was not on the level of the other meal plans. And I like to have things that are durable, especially when you're in the kitchen, if you're cooking with them and, things splatter, just be able to wipe that off. And it costs so much more to have a higher quality printing paper, but I think it's worth it in the end. These products represent me, they represent my brand, and I really care. I really care about people getting a product that they love and that will last them, and not something that just falls apart and I make more money on it so that I'm able to run the business more easily. I really, really care more about people being happy with the end result. And I know that in the end, it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference because people can feel that I care about the quality. And then also people might want to share it with others because they're proud of the quality themselves. And it just makes such a huge difference. So anyway, it's taken a couple of months now, but we're finally printing and the quality of the paper looks great. This is a total side note, but I'm just really thrilled with the new phase 2 meal plans, with how well I've been doing on them, how well a lot of people who've been on the 20-day challenge and maybe stalled or feeling stuck and just wanting to change things up, it's such a great time to do that with 2019. So if you want to check out the phase 2 meal plans, I'll talk about them a little bit more at the end of the podcast. But back to some of the top tips. Prioritizing protein has really been the fourth one out of these things that have really moved the needle for me this year, and have been ending off my 2018 and starting off my 2019 feeling better than I have maybe in my whole life. Probably, yes, most likely, definitely better than I have in my entire life. And I feel so calm and centered from all of these practices and things. And I just love sharing things that really have a huge impact for me. One of the things that I'm working on too is getting more movement. So doing that yoga in the morning helps with kind of hitting my movement goal. It helps me feel better throughout the whole day. While we've been here visiting in Colorado, I've been doing a walk pretty much every day for about an hour. It's about a 2.5 mile, 5 kilometer walk, and about half of it is on incline and at altitude. We're at about 5,000 feet here, or 1,500 meters, and above sea level. And so the air pressure is lower here, and you have less oxygen being bound to red blood cells. And so it makes doing exercise a lot more challenging. It really amps up your red blood cell production, and there's definitely an adjustment period. But when you do it, there's nothing like going out and being in nature. I mean, today I went for the most beautiful morning walk, doing the same loop that I do every day, and I was listening to The Untethered Soul, which has been one of the most powerful books I've read probably since I was in university. The most powerful book I read in university was The Power of Now, and also Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. But The Power of Now especially was really similar to The Untethered Soul. It's all about mindfulness and being aware and just observing what your inner dialogue is, what your inner thoughts are. And this has such a huge impact on me whenever I'm reminded of it. The Power of Now did that for me back in 2001, I think, when I first read it. And I've kept it up over the years and revisited it, but this is my second reading of The Untethered Soul, and I'm hearing things that I totally missed the first time. There's this whole section today about energy flow and resistance, which I've been focusing on lately. And I've just been asking the question kind of to myself or to the universe, like, what causes energy to flow and what causes energy to be resisted? And I was listening this morning while getting ready to the audio version of The Untethered Soul, and he explained it exactly what happens. And he was talking about these samskaras and energy flow and how these energy blockages get built up in the body from traumatic emotions and experiences that we don't let flow right through us, things that happen that throw us off course, that are connected back to pain inside us. And all of this stuff, this mental stuff, is such a huge part of getting healthy, of making weight loss last. I've loved having weight loss and fat loss, but what's been even better than it is having lasting weight loss and maintaining my fat loss and maintaining my weight loss over the years. And so much of it has to do with the mental game. It's not just what you put on your plate. It's what's going on in your soul, what's going on in your mind that really affects how you feel throughout the day. The thoughts that you think directly trigger the emotions that we feel throughout the day and how we feel. And it's so much easier to make healthy choices and choices that are in line with your health goals when you feel good and when you feel happy. And it's so much harder to do that when you feel miserable, but also when you don't even know how miserable you feel because you're not aware of that dialogue that's happening. And so that's why I keep saying it's a combination of all these different things together, that really made an impact. But I was saying went on my walk this morning, and it's quite snowy here because it snowed on New Year's Eve here. And the book was just having such a powerful, profound effect on me. And I looked over at the snow, and the way that the sun was glistening on the snow, it was like sometimes, the way the light hits the water on the ocean or on the sand, and you just see all these sparkling crystals. And I was just mesmerized by the beauty of it. I was just standing there. I was like, if any of the neighbors are looking at me right now, I'm just standing here staring at the snow with this huge grin on my face. And then I had to take some pictures of the snow as well. They weren't capturing the way the sun was glittering off of them at all, but I just wanted to remind myself of that moment, because when you are caught up in the beauty of nature in a moment and it's the only thing that exists, it's such a peak moment in life. And all of this is happening for me, I know, because of all these sort of changes and things that I've implemented, and it's just taking my whole keto game to the next level. And that's why I wanted to share some of them with you today before I get back to answering some of the questions.
Hey guys, just taking a really quick break to talk about the 28-day Ketogenic Girl Challenge. If you're interested in doing a ketogenic diet for yourself, it's a great place to start. I teach you everything about how to follow a keto diet to get yourself into nutritional ketosis, and it includes 28 days of meal plans. It comes with weekly shopping lists, how to interpret results, how to test yourself, a complete guide to getting started on keto. If you've been keto for a while and you're just not getting the results that you want to in terms of your health or fat loss, or you are brand new to keto, the 28-day challenge is a great option because it also comes with my free coaching and support in our members Facebook group, and you can post any questions that you have about the meal plans, about keto, and I am there supporting you. We have an amazing community in our group because everybody in there is so excited about following keto, about having found something that really works well for them. And everyone in there is just so kind, caring, generous, and supportive. And it's a really fun place to be and hang out. So if you like more info on it, you can find it at ketogenicgirl.com. And it's the 28-day Ketogenic Girl Challenge. And now back to our interview.
But the last tip that I wanted to share was something that I took away from Elon Musk, listening to him on a podcast with Joe Rogan. And he said, happiness equals life minus expectations. And I find that at the holidays or with family gatherings, this is more major than at any other time, because we all have so many expectations about how the holidays should look like, how they should go, what they should feel like, should. And as they say, we end up shitting all over the place and all over ourselves because we have all of these expectations and preconceived notions of how things should be. And this year I really made and set the intention to just let go of all of that and not have any expectations and just live in the moment and let the moment kind of unfold and let each moment unfold one after another. And I really let go of all those expectations and I just enjoyed life in the moment. And all these things have really made a huge difference over the holidays this year, having such a wonderful time, feeling good, being able to be my best self for everyone else around me. That's really why I do all of this and why I know you do all of this. It's to be your best self, not just for yourself, but so that you can give more, be more, love more to everyone around you. And this is the first year that I really felt like I was able to do that fully. I was able to give every single person that compliment that I thought in my head about them, but I was too shy to share. I was able to share all of my feelings and express myself about how wonderful all the people in my life are. I was able to support them energetically, but also, actually support them with helping them get ready and do things and just make the holidays that much more enjoyable and wonderful. And also by not being a negative person or not being selfish and focused on myself, I really feel like I was able to support everyone around me in creating such an awesome holiday experience for all of us. And it's easier sometimes, I think, not being with my own family, being with my husband's family, because it's just an easier time in many ways because I don't have as many expectations built up. I don't have as many sort of sore spots or things that I tend to expect people to be pushing all those buttons. And my husband's family definitely doesn't do that. They really don't push my buttons like we do with our own family. And I probably don't push theirs as much, although we do it to each other a little bit. But it is easier, I have to say. So I'll be really interested to implement this next year as well when I'm with my own immediate family. I love them so, so much. I love them to bits and pieces. I'm so thankful for them. I have the best parents and family and so many wonderful cousins, family members, really on both sides, but on my own side as well. And it's not to take anything away from them. It's just that I personally find that being with my in-laws sometimes can be easier, just in terms of it being, like I was saying, the pushing the buttons thing, the less expectations, there's more novelty in it. So there are less preconceived notions and expectations about how people will behave. And a lot of it is probably me going into it thinking, this person's going to push my button on this. And I'm bringing that out in them. And I'm as much, to blame for that as that person is, because we bring things out in our expectations of others. So I hope that you enjoyed hearing some of these things that have been working so, so well for me. And I think one thing I also mentioned in my post was having keto treats around. It kind of goes without saying, and anyone who's been doing keto for a while knows this already, but if you're going to be around in any kind of social situation, even if it's not a holiday or family gathering, it's just a work event, social event, anything, it's so great to just have some keto versions of treats and things that you can have for yourself. And someone was asking me about this the other day. They said in a question, I think it was even yesterday, I heard you on a podcast saying that you quit all sweeteners and this made a huge difference for you with cravings. But then I also heard you say that if you want a treat, instead of having a sugar-laden one, you'll have a keto one. So this person was confused by what I was saying. What I replied to them is, when I make those keto treats, I have them without sweeteners. So since I quit sweeteners, it was more than a year and a half ago now, it resensitized and remapped all of my taste buds through the cranial nerves. The taste buds are connected through our cranial nerves to our brains, and we can remap those taste buds and those neurons in our brain by making changes. And so for me, going off all of sugar made a huge difference. Going off of all sweeteners, everything tastes sweet to me now. Everything. I mean, 100% dark chocolate. There's a lot of variety in the kinds you can get. There are some that taste like absolute cardboard. It's really worth testing lots of different ones, and it's fun too. To find ones that are good, there are so many delicious ones, but 100% dark chocolate tastes sweet to me. It completely does, although there are some brands and bars that are less so, but 100% dark chocolate, cheese tastes sweet to me. All vegetables taste sweet to me. Even certain proteins taste sweet to me, like eggs. Eggs do have some carbs in them, so that would make sense, but everything tastes sweet to me. So I can make all of the treats that I used to make without adding sweeteners to them, and I still enjoy them as much as when they had sweeteners. But it took some time for my taste buds to adjust and resensitize and remap. So don't expect, if you decide to go off sweeteners, to have 100% dark chocolate the next day and to absolutely love it as much as you loved other things. You have to give your tongue some time and give your neurons some time to remap and readjust. But I've heard this from so many other people that I know who've gone off sweeteners. Everything starts to taste sweet because there are a lot of carbs. Carbs really are carbohydrates. There are carbohydrates on their kind of biochemical name is carbohydrates, just like lipids are actually hydrates of carbon. But anyway, carbohydrates exist in a lot of foods, and they do impart a natural sweetness to foods. It's there for a reason, to make sure that we recognize those as fuels for our body and we survive. And so a lot of foods that you wouldn't think taste sweet actually do. And it's just by giving yourself the gift of going off of artificial or natural sweeteners for a period of time, and you will see that you will start to taste the sweetness in absolutely everything. And I really don't get cravings for sweet things anymore, quote unquote sweet things, but I do sometimes like to have a treat, especially if it's a social gathering where everyone else is indulging around me. And it's not that I'm tempted by the food that they're having. It's that I don't want to feel different or deprived or weird because they're all having that chocolate tiramisu and I'm sitting there just with like a cup of hot water or hot tea. And I just don't like that feeling. I like to feel like I'm also getting to enjoy something with you. And there's also something bonding about sharing food, treats, pleasure, alcohol, these kinds of things with other people. It's what bonds us together. And it's ritualistic too. So, when everyone's enjoying that chocolate cake at the end of dinner and I have, maybe it's a hot tea with 100% dark chocolate and I have a few squares, like I feel like I'm indulging, I'm bonding with everyone as well. And there's a lot to be said for that. So those are my holiday tips that have really moved the needle for me this year and made a huge difference. And I hope that you enjoyed a couple of them. With the time I have left here, I want to get to some of the questions that I had received that I didn't get to in the last episode. I try to answer the ones that I get the most often so that they are the most helpful. And I did get to answer a lot of them in the last episode, but there are a few that I did not. So I'm going to answer them here. So here's the first one. L Hard In asks, sometimes I get annoyed tracing every single detail of my food, but I also know when I do it, I find I'm over budget on protein and fats. I know that too much protein can be stored as fat, just like carbs can. My question is, how do I move away from that? How do I make myself feel satisfied and still have some snacks without adding protein? So the first thing I would say, and I covered this a bit in the last episode, is that too much protein generally won't turn into fat. It won't be stored as fat. So when you eat protein, it's taken in by the body, it's broken down into amino acids. And the body then takes those amino acids and it uses them for immediate need. And that immediate need is functional material. So replacing recycled proteins, replacing proteins that need to be replaced in our cells, forming new proteins, forming new polymers of those amino acids, so branching lots of those amino acids together to form different biomolecules in the body that serve as either cellular components, organelles, either serving as transporters for different molecules that are aquaphobic, so they can't just move through the blood on their own. They need to have a little ship or transporter carry them. So we have incredible need for protein. That's without even getting to our muscle tissues. So we have to be replacing all of this functional material first. We also have to be replacing and building muscle tissue. And that's why we need protein so much, and it has to be prioritized because it is functional material in our body. It makes up so much of our muscle, even our bone mass, so much of our cellular components. So it's really hard for the body to exceed its own need for functional material. Once it's met the needs of functional material, it then can be used as glucose. It can be converted and it can enter the citric acid cycle. It can be converted and used for energy in the form of glucose via gluconeogenesis, which means the formation of glucose from any non-glucose substrate, any non-carbon substrate. So anytime your body is making glucose without using carbs or glucose to make it, it's making it from other things. So that then gets used for any energy needs that you still have. Those amino acids then can be stored as well. And there's something called the urea cycle where we remove the nitrogen and we remove some of the more toxic components in a compartment inside the liver, and we then excrete that urea, nitrogen. And so it's not a process that the body likes to do. It's kind of a last resort that it does once there is no more fat or glucose for energy. So that's why I really focus more on controlling starches, is the body is not going to go into creating new glucose from the intake of protein unless you're really eating in excess of your total energy needs for the day. And that's where this whole myth of gluconeogenesis comes from, it being a bad thing. It's actually a great thing. It's a required thing for us to go into the state of ketosis. And so don't think of eating too much protein as turning into fat in the body. It's really, really rare that that will happen. And it is the most satiating, or the macronutrient that provides the most satiety in the body, because of all the essentials that we need, essential amino acids are the ones that we need the most. There are 9 essential amino acids that we need the most, and there are 20 amino acids in total. There are 11 that the body can synthesize and make on its own. And we used to be able to make all of them, but over the years we have lost the ability through, some enzymatic function to actually make those 9 on our own. And that's why they're called essential. And that's really one of the main reasons we need to eat every day. We also have essential fatty acids. So those are essential nutrients. We have to get that protein in every day, and we have to get some of those essential fats. And that's why protein and fat are so much more satiating than carbohydrate, because there are no essential carbohydrates. Now, it could be argued that ketones are an essential macronutrient. I am all for that argument as well. I think they need to be reclassified as the 4th macronutrient, although some people say that about water. Ketones are incredible. They have a caloric value. They should be considered a macronutrient, and I'm sure we'll see that probably in our lifetimes happen.
We'll be back in a moment, but I just want to take a moment to say something about collagen. I received a lot of questions from you guys about collagen ever since I started posting my Level Up lattes where I add collagen to coffee. The only real drawback to bone broth, where you get so much great collagen, it's one of the reasons that bone broth has become so popular in the last few years, is you get this great collagen from it, but it's a real hassle to make. Now, for any of you who don't know, collagen is a special protein that your body uses to repair itself, whether you're getting it to straighten out digestive problems, help your mood, soothe achy joints, repair and support your gut lining if you have leaky gut, or just get that glow back in your skin. Collagen is a huge piece of the puzzle. The problem is that most of us get very little of it from our diet unless we're making bone broth around the clock. Now, maybe you're using a collagen-based skin cream, or you're adding collagen to your coffee like I do. That's better than getting none at all. But one of my biggest beliefs is that food beats supplements. The closer a nutrient is to nature, as you know, the easier it is for your body to break it down. That translates into superior healing. That's why I want to tell you about this bone broth from Kettle and Fire. They simmer grass-fed bones for 10 to 20 hours, extracting every drop of body-loving collagen straight from its most natural source. Their beef bone broth contains 20 grams of collagen per carton, and their chicken broth has 10. No wonder they have over 10,000 5-star reviews. The only real drawback, as I said, is making bone broth is a pain to make, but that's not going to be a problem for you, because order from Kettle and Fire, they ship their broth straight to your door in specially sealed cartons. That way you can heat it up on your stove, sip it in your mug, or load up on collagen in 5 minutes or less. It's the next best thing to having a chef come in your house and cook it for you. Kettle and Fire has put together a very special offer for my listeners who want to experience the bone broth difference. You can go to kettleandfire.com. That's KETTLE and fire.com/ketogenicgirl and use the code ketogenicgirl in all caps for 15% off. The coupon code is automatically applied when you buy through this link, which I will put in the show notes.
But to get back to your question, I really wouldn't worry about overdoing your protein. I know that I talk about the protein threshold a lot because it is really different for people. Some people can get kicked out of nutritional ketosis from overdoing protein, but that usually happens in a person who's really insulin resistant and is also taking in too much energy. I really think that people will see the most results focusing more on controlling the starches. And if you want to have a snack, if you are not feeling satisfied, first of all, prioritize protein more. Try to eat more protein and see how you feel. And then if you still want to have a snack, focus on a protein or fat snack and not carbohydrate. And don't worry about quote unquote going over your budget on protein and fat. And it's really, the most important thing is really controlling the starches. There are no essential starches. As I mentioned on the last podcast, starches are the plant's form of stored glucose, just like glycogen is our form of stored glucose or sugars in the body. And so when you're eating a high starch carb, you're basically just taking, say, that sweet potato, and you're tapping into a food that has tons of stored sugars in it. And there's nothing wrong with sweet potatoes, but if your goal is to burn fat and get into a fat burning state and be in ketosis, eating one sweet potato means you may have hit your goal for, carbs for that day, depending on how carb sensitive you are. And I would much rather eat a ton of veggies, salad, avocado, tons of green vegetables than eat just one sweet potato. So it's not ever to demonize sweet potatoes. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just that you have to look at foods, especially carbohydrates, as starches, and you have to see that they are stored sugars, and they're there to provide us with a stored form of sugar or energy. But if you're trying to use the energy, the surplus energy that you have stored on your body, why would you want to go and take the surplus stored energy from a plant to use it when you're trying to burn off that excess stored energy on your body? If you are someone who's trying to increase insulin sensitivity, burn fat, lose weight, build muscle, you don't want to be depending on all these starches and their stored sugars. You want to be depending on your own stored energy, not the plant's stored energy, if that makes sense. And we have stored energy on our body unless someone is very, very lean, at or below 12% body fat. If you are at that, you may not have a lot of stored energy, so you can benefit and would benefit from taking more stored energy from plants and from other foods. But if you're trying to tap into your own stored energy and burn it off, you really have to limit the starch or the stored energy that you're taking in from plant foods and other dietary foods. So I hope that answered your question. And, keep me posted. Let me know how it's going. I would love to know. So next question here is from Pace May. I've been keto since May. I don't eat anything I shouldn't. I practice intermittent fasting regularly. My ketones are never above 0.4 millimolar. I've only lost about 10 pounds in total. I don't know what else to do. So 10 pounds is a lot. It's great. I would celebrate that. For your ketones, we know that anytime you have ketones that are sort of above 0.1, 0.2, you have ketones circulating. It's only above 0.5 that you're really considered to be in the optimal zone for ketosis. You may just be a more efficient ketone user. If you are someone who is active and does a lot of exercise, you're probably not going to see high ketones. And that's because you're doing a lot of exercise and you need to use those ketones for energy. You don't want them to just be floating around your bloodstream. You want to be using them for energy. So it's really important to know that don't worry about having high ketone numbers. I know you're also saying that you've only lost 10 pounds. I think the best thing would be to probably get a body composition scan and go by what your total fat is, because you may be changing your body composition. I see this all the time, that keto really helps people support the strengthening, the maintenance of muscle mass and burning of fat. And sometimes it looks like we haven't lost as much on the scale, but we have lost more. So doing a body composition scan, there are lots of clinics and labs that will do them for you, and focus more on your body's composition. Do you want to have less fat, more muscle, higher bone density? I want to have higher bone density. I want to have heavier, stronger bones so that my bones don't get brittle when I'm old. But that means that my whole body's going to weigh more when I'm on the scale. So it's really important to focus, I think, on body composition, and optimal body composition will help, us live the longest lives, the healthiest lives, having strong muscle, having strong bones. It's really all going to be a part of optimal health and living for a long time, having those strong muscles and bones. And, you may just not be seeing it expressed as a big loss on the scale. A lot of times I have to say, people initially get, say, a 10-pound weight loss on the scale and they think that's all fat. It's usually water. And then the scale doesn't move for 5 or 6 months and they're like, oh, I'm at a stall. Well, no, actually you're burning that 10 pounds. You just get it as a bonus gift when you start keto because of water loss. And when we go through our stored glycogen, we drop a lot of water. We're not taking in as much sodium, oftentimes from packaged foods. And it's really important to supplement with sodium daily, 1 to 2 teaspoons a day, unless you have some kind of medical condition where you shouldn't be supplementing with sodium. But generally on keto, you need to supplement with sodium to make up for the sodium that you're no longer taking in from packaged foods, from processed foods, because you're eating more real food and you're eating more at home. And restaurant foods are also really highly salted. They salt everything from start to finish, from seasoning, marinating, all the way to grilling and plating. They add salt all along the way, and we need to do that too. And that's really one of the reasons why adding sodium to your diet is so important. It's also one of the reasons why you may initially see a weight loss, but your body is burning that 10 pounds over the last 6 months, say maybe 1 or 2 pounds a month of fat, but you're just not seeing it on the scale. So you feel stuck or stalled or like nothing is moving, but it actually is. It's just that you got kind of that bonus gift at the beginning because of water loss. And most of our body's weight is actually water. For most people, about 50 to 80% of their body weight is actually water. And an obese person, and by that I mean someone who is over a certain clinical level of body fat percentage, someone who is obese or has a lot of fat on their body, they will tend to have more of their weight in the form of water. Why? Because muscle stores a lot of water, but fat doesn't. So you know how oil and water don't mix. So our fat cells, they don't have a lot of water in them, but our muscle cells have a lot of water in them. So when we burn fat, we tend to also drop water on the scale. We see that reflected. It's mostly coming from the glycogen, but as you lose weight and as you burn fat, your total body weight composition is coming more and more from water, if that makes sense. I know it's kind of a hard one to explain verbally, but if I could graph it out, maybe I'll make an infographic and share that on Instagram. But our total body weight ranges between 50% up to 80% of it is water. And the more lean you are, the more percentage of your body weight is water. The more obese a person is, the less of their body weight percentage is actually water. And it's very, very interesting to me, especially. But I hope that helps you with the scale number. Really don't focus on the scale. Focus on how your pants fit, especially your tight jeans or your leggings. They can feel good really at any body composition. But if you are wanting to improve your health and the way that you feel in your body and your body's overall longevity and health, I really like going by my favorite pair of jeans. When you're in your jeans, when you feel good, that your body's where you want it to be at. And when you're having trouble pulling them on or closing them, maybe, that's where some of us are after the holidays. And pants are just a really great way of measuring body composition and a really cheap way of doing it. Whereas a scale, it's not the best because it's just such a reflection of water retention, of sodium and electrolyte balance, and, of our body composition of water weight. So don't get frustrated by only 10 pounds. You may have been losing it just really slowly over the past 6 months. So keep at it, and I'm sure you will break your quote unquote stall. There's lots of other things you can do too. You can try out my phase 2 program, which I just released, which is part of the 28-day challenge. And it's a full 28-day program for increasing fat loss, building and supporting existing muscle and bone density. And it's really for fat loss and fitness. It is the culmination of all my research and work on this in the last several years. And it also comes with not just the meal plans, not just all the hundreds of recipes, not just the shopping guide, not just the meal plan overviews, information on testing, FAQ, bonus meals, all these things. It also comes with my support and coaching in our members Facebook group, because I really feel that it's so helpful to get healthy with a buddy, to have a coach and someone supporting you. And there's a lot of confusion out there about keto and how it should work and what it should look like. And I try to make it as easy as possible using the most simple, easy to find foods and ingredients at any supermarket. I wrote these plans while we were traveling throughout Europe, and I would go to these little supermarkets that sometimes were no better than a mini market, and I was able to make these meals. It's really not about finding all these pricey, attractively packaged supplements and things, which are fun, but it's really not about that. It's about making this easy and sustainable and quick, and making it, something that you can do and you can keep doing for a long time in order to maximize your health. So if you'd like more help and support from me directly, definitely check out the 20-day challenge. The new phase 2 meal plans are higher in protein, and I've really been getting such great results out of them for myself. So that's another tip for you. So I'm going to leave you guys here for today's episode. I don't want it to go on and on. I'm trying to make these a little bit shorter sometimes, especially the ones when they're just solo casts with me and closer to 45 minutes than going over an hour, because I can go on and on and on when it comes to keto and talking about all this stuff. So I need to stay focused. I hope you guys enjoyed today's New Year kind of last little holiday episode, where I got to share some of the things that have really been moving the needle for me and answer a couple more questions from the Q&A that I had put out last week. So I hope that you have a fat-fueled start to your new year. It's January 2019. It is such a fantastic time to try some new things. If you've been wanting to try out keto, if you've been doing keto for a while on your own, you want to try doing it with someone else, doing it with a friend, a guide, with a community, check out the Ketogenic Girl 20-day challenge at ketogenicgirlcom. And I hope you have a fat-fueled start to your year. And I can't wait to catch you guys on the next episodes. Bye for now.
A few disclaimers. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice, as I am not a qualified healthcare provider. The information presented on this podcast is for educational purposes only. Ketogenic Girl is not qualified to provide medical advice. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to this podcast. Prior to beginning a ketogenic diet, you should undergo a full health screening with your physician to confirm that a keto diet is suitable for you and to rule out any conditions or contraindications that may pose risks or that are incompatible with a ketogenic diet. A keto diet may or may not be appropriate for you if you have any kind of health condition, whether known to you or unknown. So you must consult your physician to find this out. Anyone under the age of 18 should consult with their physician and their parents or legal guardian.